EAB, rated 1st of April 2019, subject to change.
This is OTB Sports Radio.
Friday night racing.
On Off the Ball.
And they're off.
Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at goracing.ie.
All right, you're very welcome along to this week's Friday Night Racing. Our guest this week is Warren O'Connor, who is a Jockeys coach, and we're also joined by Thom Malone. So we've got the A-team out this week, lads. How are you doing?
Thanks, Ger.
Thanks, sir.
Now, you guys know each other a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, so you're a Jockeys coach now. Obviously, we'll talk about your career as a jockey as well. Thom was a student of yours for a little while.
He was, yes. He popped in for just for me to have a look at him and see, can I give him a few tips, you know what I mean, and pointers. And
he nearly retired after it, I heard.
Yeah, he I think he threw in the saddle after that.
Before a charity race, I decided that I wanted to just tidy up my style a little bit. So I rocked into Warren's, and in my head, I was already Cash Rasmussen or Steve Cawthon or Frankie Dettori. So Warren very kindly gave me a few home treats.
I think this is actually kind of worthwhile because, like, what do you do with the jockey when they come in? I mean, obviously you're dealing with very experienced jockeys, some novice jockeys. It's the whole kind of rainbow of everybody who comes into you. So when somebody like Thom comes into you, or when somebody who's even more experienced comes into you, what are you looking at?
Well, basically, you mean I'm there to look at their style, look at their balance, and the most important that I'm looking for is their balance and their rhythm. You mean you have to have both. You know what I mean? If you haven't got both, you're a hindrance to the horse underneath you. You know, you have to be balanced, and if you're not balanced, you mean a horse is traveling at 30-35 miles an hour. And if there's a lot of movement going on, it's like you would, if not a bother. If I put a few heavy books in the back of it, and these books are moving around on the back, you won't sprint up as fast. So imagine a horse doing 30 miles an hour, and there's a jockey moving around, their body weight is moving on top of the horse. You know what I mean? That's not helping the horse side.
So if somebody comes in and their balance isn't great, is it fixable?
Oh yeah, of course. You'll always know the natural person. The natural jockey will always have it. You know what I mean? It'll always be there. But I find with a lot of anyone who comes to me, I find that the minute they come, I can see straight away with their balance that they're not balanced. The most important thing is to be on the ball of your foot. You know, you don't see a boxer going around, dancing around on his toe.
In the stirrups?
In the stirrups.
Right.
Yeah, because that's a
tiny little strip of metal.
Yeah.
The full ball of your foot.
Yeah. You mean, it's like, you know, when I was riding, you know, I mean, my small saddle was the saddle I used all the time, you know. But the difference is to be balanced on that iron. You know, it's only a little bit.
It's tiny, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very small. It's very small. I found it was an absolute eye-opener. You know what I mean? And you watch horse racing and you think you see a jockey, and what you want is a jockey absolutely throwing the kitchen sink at the horse.
Exactly,
and that's the big mistake everyone makes, that, like, you know, scrubbing the ears off and going as hard as he can, and that is just completely wrong. You obviously have to work with the animal. And then like Warren is a complete equisizer in his house, which is basically a full-size mechanical horse, and you go on that, and you know, he gives you exercise to try and just feel the rhythm of the horse and go with it.
And how easy is it to learn that, Thom? When you're so you're getting feedback on it. What is that experience like for you?
Well, it's pretty good. Like, Warren will have a camera there as well. He'll video you. He'll step up himself, which is pretty good as well. You've got a professional jockey showing you exactly how to do it, and you see the way he does stuff like pulling through his whip, or using his stick in rhythm with the horse, which you see a jockey do. You think that's easy, but to actually get your hands and the horse and the stick and everything just moving in concert is a bit more, not as straightforward as it looks.
Yeah, as an untrained eye, sometimes I'm like, is that jockey, is he using the whip or not? It's so subtle you can't tell. Like, they're the ones that are kind of, they're reaching a level of perfection.
Yeah, there's an art to it. You know, it's like the last person to go for the whip is usually the person that wins. You will watch any of those top-class jockeys. They will push. I remember Mick Cannan, when I was riding against Mick, he'd arrive beside me and he'd literally say, you go for your stick first, you go for your stick first. And you'd be there going, you'd not wanting to. But as soon as you've gone,
hang on,
he's got the upper hand.
Is he saying that out loud?
No, but you can see the expression in his face, you know, and he's go for it. He'd be looking at you, you know what I mean? He'd make you go for it.
Right.
And that's the difference. And as soon as you've gone for it, then he has that up his sleeve.
Okay, that's mad. So there's a bit of psyching out going on.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the most famous finishes at Leopardstown is Galileo and Fantastic Light in the Champions Stakes since about 2001. And Galileo previously beaten Fantastic Light. So it was Mick Cannan and Frankie Dettori coming up sides, and Mick literally moved his hands first, and Frankie said after the race was like, "That's when I knew." That's when I knew. And it's just it's just that, like, they're jockeys are eyeballing each other, they know what they have underneath them, but they're just glancing over as well to see.
Is it purely peripheral vision, or are they literally making a point of going, I'm looking at you now?
No, it's like you're making your jockey go for the whip first. You know what I mean? As I say, if you've gone for that stick, you've no reserve left.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? But if you haven't gone, you've a reserve there to go for that stick then. So that could be another just bob of the head, especially when you're in a tight finish. That's where you see the good jockeys. They have the confidence to do that. You know, when we're young, we turn into the straight, we see the winning post, and we just, as you said, kitchen sink, knives, forks, everything, we fired at, you know, and you just let go. You didn't care how you looked, there was no balance, there was no rhythm, you lost everything. Coming up to the line, when you were young, you get tired. But when you get professional, it's all about being professional about it.
I think a prime example of that was Frankie Dettori on Enable in the King George when he came up sides Crystal Ocean. And despite pulling out his stick early, he actually only used it on the animal once, and he just kept that rhythm, constantly just showing the stick and just keep. It's that thing Warren talks about. When you talk about a short, that just keeping the balance and the rhythm with the horse.
Yeah.
And like the two horses are head to head, the neck and neck. She was headed once, and you would think any other jockey wallops her then, but Frankie doesn't. He just keeps with the rhythm and keeps showing the stick and just knows she's going to find for him. I mean, obviously she's an exceptional horse, so it's slightly different, but
yeah, but that's what you mean. That's where the good jockeys come in. And even when the question you asked, when any new person comes to the simulator, you want to see them. They just try drive. Now the simulator's bolted to the ground. They try to drive it out. They try to get it close to that mirror. You mean here they are? They're using their body, heart, and soul, and they're not moving it one bit. So what I try to do then is to tidy it up and put them in rhythm with it. That they're going the very same speed as the machine is going.
Balance is about centre of gravity, right? It's
yes.
So the balls of your feet is very important, but everything else kind of has to come through a straight line somewhere along the way, or else you're whatever way you're crouched, you should be able to.
Yeah, it's basically you're positioning yourself on your legs. Your legs are your balance, right? And that's where your core. You need your core. Your core needs to be so strong. Like, I remember I used to play squash 3 or 4 nights a week. I did a lot of running, I did a lot of power walking. But if I wasn't race riding, I was not race riding fit. And I know, from anyone who comes into me, I know if they're fit or not fit for race riding. I'm riding work, I mean, I could ride 25 horses piece of work during the week, right? If I rode in a race tomorrow morning, my legs would give up. They'd give in. I wouldn't be fit enough. And that's being honest. You know what I mean?
But because
fitness-wise, because you have to be race riding to be race riding fit.
Right. I mean, it's a bit of a catch-22. So obviously, there's parts of the season at the start of the year where jockeys aren't up to the full level of fitness. What can they do to kind of cheat that? Like,
well, it's basically as I have a lot of my young kids and amateurs, whoever I coach, I do core work. Go on to YouTube, there's plenty of YouTube videos with core work on it, and it's your core that you need to be built up. Now, Wayne Middleton works, he's in racing, and he's very, very good with all the lads with his fitness and all like that, and he's very, very good, and the lads find him brilliant, and that's what you need. You need to be working on your core. Your core is number one. You had no point going into a gym and lifting weights and weights and weights. Yeah. It's not worth a damn to you. You know what I mean? When you're working your own body weight, and that's what's building up.
Were you sore after the race?
Not particularly after the race, because I didn't ride a finish. Essentially, I hunted around the back, but I was sore after having the session with Warren, because you probably ride about 5 or 6 finishes in the hour. But it's even just the difference, as Warren said.
Muscles you haven't
even
used.
if you were at the time when I building up to the race, I was kind of doing evenings here and I was riding out in the mornings. So I was riding probably 25 horses a week, like Warren says. But it's just different. Then you're just sitting on them. You're cantering around the gallop. You might do a couple of pieces of work quicker, but you're never getting into a position where you're crouching down, forcing them, changing your hands or anything, using your stick or anything like that. Is just a completely different level. And they'll give you little exercises to try and strengthen up different muscles, but really the equisizer is the only real way, I would say, that you can try and find anything to replicate it.
Warren, it's a bit mad to me that your job now didn't really exist until very recently. When you think about the lengths that riders go to shave off a little bit of weight and to try and get a bit of advantage over their rivals, that they never thought that having somebody to give them, just sometimes tough love, sometimes an arm around the shoulder, whatever it is, that coaching in every sport in the world exists at a very, like an increasingly, it's getting better and better at such a rate of knots. But in racing, it's only starting now, so it's kind of scratching the surface.
Like, it's crazy. I mean, I was a professional jockey I rode for nearly 20 years, right? And, I've been through the good times and I've seen the bad times. I've been up and I've been down, ridden big winners, small winners. I've had a lot of trouble with issues, with demons, and I came out the other side of it. But the difference is, I looked at this and I said, every sports person has a coach. I know when I was.
Yeah, it's so simple when you say it like that.
Well, it is a simple way of saying it. I remember when I was riding. I don't know if a lot of people mightn't remember Tommy Carmody, but by God, Tommy Carmody was one of the best riders ever. And Liam Brown, who I served my time with, would say he was the best jockey he ever had. Tommy.
Can I ask you about Liam Brown?
Yes.
Because he comes up with these conversations loads and loads and loads and loads, and he's my parents' neighbour, and I had no idea that he was such a legend.
Oh,
and like he's one of the nicest men in the world. So I'm kind of interested because it's so.
I'm glad you said that.
He does seem to be almost like this grandfather of talent.
Johnny Martin mentioned him.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of people come in and kind of.
I promise you one thing. He was the master of jockeys. Absolute. Now tough. That's what I laughed when you said gentleman. He was. To this day, I respect that man so much. What he taught me. Not just the riding part of it, was how to dress, how to speak to people, how to respect. Respect people.
So you were an apprentice under him, were you?
I was, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And a lot of top jockeys. The reason I wanted to go to Liam was because he made the best. Mick Kinane, Pat Gilson, Tommy Carmody, Mark Dwyer. You could go on, David Parnell, God forbid.
Was he a trainer?
He was a horse trainer, yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He trained, he had about 150 horses in training, and big trainer, trained an awful lot of winners, but his main target was making his jockeys.
Right.
Like making apprentices, and by God, he was tough. Like, it was 7 days a week and no weekends off.
Yeah.
I knew that when I was signing that dotted line what I was signing myself in for. But I wanted it, I really, really wanted it. And with the luck of God, my breaks came,
So in a way, maybe I phrased the whole thing wrong at the start. Like, that was your coaching. It's just, it wasn't one-on-one. It wasn't kind of, obviously it was one-on-one in certain instances where he would give you feedback, but it wasn't coaching per se. You had a trainer-jockey relationship. What your relationship now is that it's an individual relationship with the jockeys who are coming to you in a bid to try and improve their game.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm there now, not just to coach them. I'm there to help them out, through the good and the bad. The worst about a lot of young kids. If they get a bollocking, somebody they can take it to heart. You know what I mean? And as I said, I don't give them a bollocking. I give them a nice bollocking, that sort of way, you know what I mean? I'm not the trainer's already after giving out to them for the ride they gave them. I'll go through that race with them. Ask them first, do you see the mistakes you've made?
Yeah.
And if they don't see it, point it out to them, and then try help them through it, that they're not going to do it the next day, you know what I mean? So I'm there to guide them, I'm there to help them. And the most important thing is to work, to make sure they're on a good diet, make sure their fitness is good as well, make sure that they're able to talk to people properly. The worst thing to do is come in and insult an owner saying that their horse is no good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like insulting their wife. You don't need something like that. You need to be professional about it. The same turning up at the races, if you have a pair of runners on you, and the owner gets out of the car with a suit on him with the car beside you, he's looking at you and he's saying, I'm paying him to do a job. You know what I mean? They're only little things, but that was bet into us when I served my time with Liam.
Yeah.
Remember,
in the races themselves, what are the most common mistakes, say, the younger apprentices might make?
The biggest mistake is they try too hard. You know what I mean? It's like what I said. When you turn into the straight and you see that winning post, the first thing you do is you let go. Riding a horse is like driving a car. There's 5 gears. There's the push, there's a slap on the shoulder, there's the backhander, there's the forehand, and then there's the big one. But when I was young, I know what it's like. I turned into straight, seeing a winning post, straight for the big one. So you've gone straight for the big one. By the time you're coming up to the line, what are you doing? Only you're getting tired and more tired and
getting caught
and getting caught on the line. And that's a look. It's
It's just probably similar to any sport, the white
Any
line
sport.
fever.
Yeah, of course. Like we're all young, so that's why I'm there to help them, guide them, try to improve them.
So that's the younger jockeys.
Yeah.
Do the older jockeys come to you now and realise that actually there's a benefit from that?
Shane Foley, myself and Shane work together, you know what I mean? We'd be on the phone and we'd going through races and all like that, and he'd even to this day, he'd say, well, what do you think? You know what I mean? Did I make a mess of it? Plus, what I'll do is the night before I'll go through the races and I will see what I think the way the horse should be ridden. I'll go through the form of the others. Just, it's another opportunity for him not to be worrying about things. Then when we talk before racing, we'll talk about the race, see what this will go on, that'll go on. I'd probably better off let him bowl along, make it, or probably sit in, you know what I mean? Look, you always have 3 or 4 plans up your sleeve. But he's the professional at the end of the day. As soon as those gates open, it's his professionalism that comes into play. From
the pieces that we've done over the last year as well, it seems like in the last 10 years or so, there's been a sea change in the general approach from the jockeys to, maybe it's even a bit longer, and Adrian McGoldrick clearly had a part in this, and like talking to them about nutrition and making sure they were doing their fitness and making sure that they were all thinking about the issues of concussion. It seems like racing modernised in a way that other sports modernised. You remember Arsene Wenger comes to the Premier League and suddenly
they're not drinking until Wednesday every
exactly
week.
And the diets change, and then that explodes because everybody realises there was an advantage in it. It seems like racing is kind of undergoing that at the minute. Even talking to some jockeys now who are like, oh yeah, I had 2 gummy bears and a can of Red Bull for the last 36 hours. You're like, well, there's probably a better way of doing that nowadays. They might be able to give you, a little bit of a morsel of food here. It's gotten more professional now. You know what I mean? It really has. But it's about time. You know what I mean? Like, look, when I was riding, I was riding on adrenaline. That was basically it. And that's what
how was yours? Did you have proper struggle with your weight?
Oh yeah, I'd be naturally 10-2 now, and I used to be walking around 8 stone 3. So it was crazy. Like, I was riding 2 stone underneath my natural weight. And people say to me, where did I get the strength from? I'd be honest with you, once adrenaline pumped in, that's where strength come from. I'd gone to stage I couldn't even take the top off a bottle of Luke said. And that's the way my strength had gone completely. But once race day came, if I was on a ride that could win, the adrenaline pumped in. Is that where the demons come from? Well, demons came. Look, I had a lot of problem with alcohol. I had drug addiction. I was bulimia for 15 years. Do you think that you would have had those problems if you weren't a jockey, or do you think that the life of the jockey was something that triggers them? Well, I'll be honest with you, I was overdriven from a young age. I mean, I started dieting when I was 9 years of age. Right. Started drinking black tea. I mean, Lester Pickett, you asked me anything about Lester Pickett, I could tell you everything about him. You know what I mean? He was born the 5th of November 1935. I eat and slept. Well, I didn't eat, and then it took over my life. From the time you were 9, you decided you wanted to be Lester Pickett? My mother always said from the time I left school, usually people, when the child would say mammy or daddy, and simply my first word was jockey. That sort of way, it's just all I wanted. And I was just overdriven. I wanted to be the best. I remember I had a treble one day at the Curragh. There was a group race, a Premier Handicap, and another group race. I got beaten in another race, and I went home and I played the video over of the race I got beaten. And I never enjoyed it. By the way, treble at the Curragh for any job, it's ridiculous. It's so worth celebrating. But it's madness. So, Richard Dunwoody is a great friend of mine, AP. You know what I mean? They'll tell you about. Once you're driven, you'll do anything. They would have similar mentalities, though, wouldn't they? Oh yeah. The only is they went the right way about it. I went the wrong way. But what happened has happened. I've turned my life around. And that's the most important thing. But it's come out the other side. It's a great position to be in, to be able to have a meaningful conversation with kids who want to become jockeys, that there's a value to being a jockey, but there's a bigger value in looking after yourself, and that you'll be a better jockey in the long run. Yeah. You'll have more longevity if you can look after yourself properly. And I think that if somebody like AP is having that conversation with young jockeys, it's great, but he's also AP McCoy. If you're having that conversation, having come through what you've come through,
you can actually teach them that there is a different path. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you know, look, everyone knows my story, and you know, I've even the book beside the simulator. I say, you know, if I see any problems with any of the kids that I coach, open up that. I said, do you want to go down that road? Do you understand? And I hope to God you don't. And with the luck of God, you know what I mean. That's what I'm there to help them. You know, I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. You know what I mean. I'm passionate about it. You mean, and it's great for me as well, because I'm back doing something in the sport that, you mean, I let myself down. You know, to me, I let myself down.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
and that's life. You know what I mean. But thank God I've come out the other side.
Yeah,
and it's great.
Have you made peace with the day at the Curragh where you win 3 and lose 1?
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Can you enjoy that treble now?
Yeah, but it's gas. You mean, I enjoy now. You mean, I didn't even enjoy going racing anymore. You know what I mean? Now I love going racing. I love seeing the kids ride, the new kids that I have, or let it be an amateur.
Warren was there at the weigh room in Punchdown and Charters, because I think a few other people had gone to you as well.
That's
and
right.
like every single one of us, get a little chat before you go out and just like, watch that first turn, it's sharper than you think it is. And just like every single person, it was like, he was actually like a beaming dad there. It was gas.
The bit where you are deciding to be a jockey coach, right? Was that an obvious thing for you to do? Did you see that gap from a while back?
Well, would you believe, after being away and getting myself sorted out, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? I thought my life was sort of over. You know, I said, how am I going to turn this around? You know, I'm be truthful with you, with the luck of God, you know, and with the great thanks to Frank Moore and Helen O'Sullivan of the Irish Jockeys Trust. I mean, they got behind me. They asked me what would I like to do. This came up about going to England, flying over every Monday to do the BHA coaching. And the minute I seen it put that, I said, yes, that's what I'd love. If I got that, it'd be just fantastic to be doing something that I love doing. You know what I mean?
You have to be good at it then, right? Because that's the other part of it. Is like, you know, it's great to love doing something, but you need to learn a completely new bunch of skills.
But with Yogi Berra now, he's one of the best in the world, right? And I mean, he was one of the Sue Ringrose, and they were just brilliant, absolutely fantastic. What I even learned just doing that course alone.
Did Yogi Berra give the course?
Yeah,
he's this, like, by the way, he's basically called like a horse whisperer. He's like Dr. Dooley. He can break horses without even lunging them. Like, he uses, like, normally when you break a horse, right, you put him on a long rein and you'd get him go around you in circles, but you have the horse on essentially leads, like lead reins, but he can do it by like clicks and voice and stuff. He's
absolute genius.
Yeah, the talents he has, like, he's literally a horse whisperer. It's phenomenal. So yeah, that must have been quite a buzz as a horseman to kind of experience him as well.
Yeah, and to get compliments off him as well. You know what I mean? Like they turned around to Frank and Helen. They said, "Well, I tell you one thing, he's definitely got it." He says he's got the gift of the gab. And he loves what he's doing, and he's natural at it.
It's a good combination.
To hear that from a man like that was just unbelievable.
So that gets you up and running. Can I ask you this question? If you, at your lowest ebb or along the way, if you'd been tapped on the shoulder by yourself now, would you have been ready to listen, do you think?
No.
Would you have benefited?
At the time, look, it took me a long time to get out of where I was. You know, it took me a long time, and a lot of issues, and you know, I had to deal with an awful lot of issues in my own head. But the most important thing that I had to deal with is, you're never going to be the best. You know what I mean? I thought in my head I was the best at everything I did. If I played squash, I played tennis, I was brilliant at all sport. No matter whoever was in the court, I thought I was going in to beat them. I played a world champion out in Saudi Arabia, in a match, and I thought I was going in there, and I thought I was going to beat him in a game of squash. He had me running around in rings, and I still thought I was going to beat him. You know, that was the madness in my head. You know, to get rid of all that madness. You know.
How did you eventually get rid of it?
With a lot of good people.
Right.
A lot of good people. I have great help today. You know, I have great help today.
Is that counselling? Is that talking to people?
It's counselling, talking to people. I have a good person who I talk to every day. You know what I mean? And that's the most important thing. You know what I mean? I've good people behind me. Good people.
It's funny because, again, to go back to, like, the stories of jockeys starving themselves. There's a little bit of macho in it, the way there was a little bit of macho in English football culture. These foreigners can't come over and teach us anything, and then Wenger comes and wins the league, like whatever it was, and gets great players. And then everybody realises, actually, I need to open my mind a little bit. Was there macho in jockey? Like, if you're a top class jockey, why would I need a coach? Why do I need somebody to analyse my stuff? I know my own. I'm the best at this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to listen to anybody.
Yeah, I remember going back over the years, even when back protectors were brought in, you know what I mean? Oh, I won't wear one of those. We won't wear one. Now we just know they won't walk out without it. Do you understand what I'm saying? That was the macho thing. Now it's professional. It's truly professional. Where before people were afraid to ask for help, where now people do ask for help. You know what I mean? If there's problems there, people will ask for it, you know, and they'll put their foot down. And it's an organisation now where Dr. McGoldrick has done a fantastic job, you know, and before that, Dr. Halley, you know, God rest his soul, he was doing a great job for it as well, you know. But it had to be done, you know what I mean? You've got to remember, you're going out there and you're travelling 30, 35 miles an hour, and you're followed by 2 ambulances.
And you're starving and you're dehydrated.
Yeah, exactly.
In a lot of the cases.
I mean, I was coming out of the sauna and I could have slid underneath the door, not even opened up the door, you know what I mean? And I was going out on horses and, trying to ride. You know, I rode, don't take me wrong, but, I wasn't at the full of my health. You know, I couldn't have been. Sure, I couldn't have been 2 stone underneath your natural weight.
Yeah.
Like years ago, it was 7.7 was bottom weight, where now it's 8.4. You know, it's a big jump in.
We talk about this a good bit. Like, what's going to happen? Because the weights are unsustainable. The whole of the racing world needs to have like a massive coming together and say, what difference does it make if the jockeys are half a stone heavier? And if they're all half a stone heavier, that's fine.
Yeah, but the only thing he then brings in, I know this is where the problem is, it brings in the national hunt jockeys into the flat game.
Yeah.
Do you get my meaning? And I know it's flat and national hunt. There are 2 differences. If you up the weights too much, the jump lads are going to be able to ride in the flat. So then it's going to be just jockeys.
It actually makes it smaller.
It won't be flat and national hunt. So you have to have, there has to be some sort of, now I understand that, look at the generations, I see 15-year-olds going to school now and be, Lord, gee, God forbid, they're bigger than me and they're bigger than us here.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And they look so old. But I still agree, there has to be flat and national hunt. Definitely.
Is there a cut-off point where that, like, do the weights need to rise a little bit?
Definitely.
For jockey safety?
At the bottom weights and handicaps, they probably need to go up maybe a shade, maybe 8.8 or something.
Yeah, 8.7. If you went to 8.7, you'll be comfortable enough at that. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't be going any heavier. I wouldn't be going any heavier than that. You know, you have to, as I say, you have to have the flat and you have to have the national hunt.
There is still a weight for age scale that's worked. I don't want to sound like a Luddite, but that has worked in horse racing for 150 years, and there's still a handicapping system that has worked quite well for equally amount of time. So you still have to kind of give those horses a chance as well, right down the bottom of the weights. And the other thing is, it actually gives certain jockeys chances. Like a guy, the guy that you worked with, of course, Robbie Dolan, who's down in Australia at the moment.
Yeah.
He's a champion apprentice down there, and he weighs 47 kilos. I'm not even sure what that is in metric, but it's basically, like, you think about a rugby player, it's not even half a rugby player. Yeah. He's 47 kilos, but he's healthy. So there has to be, so many of these lighter jockeys have to have opportunities too. And the only time some of these guys get rides on the bigger days is down the bottom of the weights in these premier handicaps and the like. So there are still small people around, and they kind of need to be given the opportunity.
Look at Wayne Lorden. Wayne Lorden is he's 8 stone nothing. You know what I mean? And he's that size. So there is. Look, the weights will have to rise, but I'm not on about rising them too much now. Let's be honest.
Okay, fair enough. And with all your experience, text in here wondering, do you try and improve the style that the jockey already has, or do you try and teach a certain style which you think is the most efficient? So, what's your teaching philosophy?
Based when I look at the jockey, I look at their size, and then I will I'll try adapt them. I'll ask them who's their favourite jockey. If there's something same build as Thom there, and Thom is their favourite jockey, we'll get them to look like Thom. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's all about the size of them, what way they're built, and then I will try adapt them to ride like some like Shane Foley.
So you're not going to take all my jockeys are going to look exactly the same.
Oh, no.
Everybody's
No.
going to know that this is one of my pupils.
Luckily, I said Richard Hughes because
Well, there's Richard, like a big tall fella, and I tell you, absolute fantastic jockey, absolutely one of the best. Now, if I have a tall lad who comes into me, I'll adapt him, try to adapt on his style. You know.
Warren, let's go back to the your career as a jockey, because it would be easy for us to kind of just talk about what you're doing now, but actually you had a great career as a jockey. You were a professional for 20 years, despite the fact that you were battling the demons that you talked about. You must be, when you look back on that, you must be incredibly proud of the fact that you, because it sounds to me like there's a bit of tension between the I didn't fulfill my potential and the actually, while I had all that stuff going on, I was still pretty good.
Yeah, like it's, you know, when I look back at it, I mean, I've broken every bone in my body through injuries. I was the most, as the lads would say, I was the most unluckiest fat jockey in the world, because every time I got a fall, something broke. But I mean, I was champion apprentice, and to be champion apprentice in Ireland, you know, was just, you know, fantastic, absolute. Johnny Burton always reminds a lot of people with that. Warren O'Connor beat me, you know. So, and you know, I'd ridden over 500 winners. To ride a classic winner, to ride a Royal Ascot winner, to ride in a Breeders' Cup. I've ridden winners all over the world. In Dubai, I won Bombay, Guineas, Bangalore, Guineas. I've won the Coral Eclipse.
How do you get booked for the Bombay and Bangalore Guineas? How does that happen?
It's
if a phone call comes in with a long delay in the line,
yeah.
Like,
well, you think you've been hacked into, you're all right. No, it's like years ago. You see, there was no racing during the winter.
Right.
So what we used to do is, once November came, we'd go out foreign we'd go out foreign then from November to March. And I was out in India, I've been in Saudi Arabia, I've been in Dubai, Australia, America, Japan.
Now, was this having crack?
No, working.
But like, as well, having crack?
Yeah, I'm working sort of a holiday as well.
Right.
A bit of both. But you know, the racing was serious out there.
Right, okay.
Absolute serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you got good retainers to go out there.
So an agent would come over and book the best Irish jockeys to go to Australia or America.
Well,
or
it's like anything. The Irish are known all over the world, and especially as jockeys. And in India, all they want is the Irish jockeys. They want to get the Irish jockeys over there. I mean, Christy Roach, Mick Kinnan, they've all been out there. David Parnell, God forbid, David Parnell. Dave Parnell's father started off out there, you know what I mean? And it's been going on for just years and years and years, and just every year there's been jockeys going out.
And is it an amazing life experience?
Oh, it's brilliant. Absolute fantastic. And like, I mean, the likes of these places, you know, for me to be able to say I've travelled all around the world, you know, and this was at the age of 21, 22 years of age.
Yeah.
You know, that was wow.
Nobody was going to India in the 70s.
Yeah, you know what
90s.
I mean. It's unbelievable, you know, for a little boy from Wexford. You know what I mean. To get to where I got, you know, I have to remember it. Yeah, it's been brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, you know.
So you've made peace with that, because the life experience is incredible. Maybe you didn't fulfil your potential. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I always wanted to be champion jockey. You know, I was champion apprentice. I was second. I was second, third, or fourth in the championship here. Always wanted to be champion, but as I said, the demons crept in, and it as the years went on, it got worse and worse.
Can we just point out something as well? Like the quality of rider that Warren is riding against. So, like when you won the Guineas on Cahuenga, that was your first ride in a classic, was
First ride in a classic,
in 1991. So I watched this race earlier, actually. So the other riders in the race: Lester Pickett, Willie Carson, Steve Cawthon, Christy Roach, Kevin Manning, Johnny Murtagh. And then when she went and won the Eclipse, like you're riding against Mick Kinnan, the Hills brothers, like the best jockeys, like collectively as a group, I would say, and Frankie Dettori would have been breaking through around about that time as well. So, you know, you're not talking, like, go and say, oh, well, I want to be champion. Like, the depth of quality in Irish racing in particular at the time, so you would have had, like I said, came through similar enough time to Johnny Murtagh, Mick Kinnan, Christy Roach. Lester was riding over here plenty at the time as well. So, you know, to get to third in the jockey table, they're not really going to let Warren beat himself up over that, because it was phenomenal level of talent in the saddle. But Cahuenga, what a filly she was.
Oh, she was brilliant. She was absolutely, and that was from day one, from the first day I sat in her. I always said, I mean, when I joined Michael Conce, it was the best 5 years that I had in race, and you could say. The first morning I sat on her, I knew she was something special.
Yeah.
Absolute. She was just a pure machine. You know what I mean? You'll always know that. You'll always know that the one that has that gears, you know.
I just looked at the 92 eclipse. She went off at 7-2, like a filly in the eclipse. That just doesn't really happen. But like you rode, like I just watched the race back. Like you rode her incredibly confidently, as the saying would say. You gave the outside to no one.
Yeah, well, there's what you're on about confidence. You know, I lost the Prince of Wales in Ascot. I hadn't ridden the winner for 6 weeks.
Jockeys, they just always remember the losers, don't they? They just always remember the losers.
Pressure there was on us, that even on Michael, you know what I mean? And the owner stood by me and I kept the ride. And I remember we walked the track and it was the first time in 5 years that Michael Cons gave me instructions. In 5 years. He says, right, we've walked the track second or third, be second or third throughout the race. So I was grand, okay, boss, grand, not a bother.
Were you a bit surprised that he suddenly...
Oh yeah, I was a bit shocked, you know what I mean? Ooh, geez. But I understood, because I was after losing the Prince of Wales. I hadn't ridden the winner for 6 weeks, you know what I mean? So the pressure was on him as well to stand by me to keep the ride. So the next one we jumped out of the stalls and I said, these are going too fast. So I pulled it right back. I was last turned into straight.
Right.
Last turn into straight, and I'd say you were 6 wide off the bend, which is not what you're doing. Would not be the ideal tactic.
But the ground was so
one
cut
horse
up.
went to the near side rail. And you kind of came wide, obviously avoiding the cut up ground. But like on first glance, I was like, oh, this thing must be a machine. Like, But she came and won.
So tell me the rest of the race then, because you clearly remember it.
Oh yeah, like I mean, it was all when was going to press the button.
Grand.
Yeah.
So let's just go back. You're given these instructions. Everybody, massive ramped up pressure, and you decide straight at the start, screw the instructions, and you're quite wide. So how are you thinking?
Well, if I'd have got beaten that, I didn't want to. I would not have gone back to the parade.
That was exactly my question. I was like, no,
and it just kept going.
There's no way he has that negativity in his head, but it clearly was. It was like a quick flash going, this better win.
You mean that's what I was saying about Shane Foley earlier on? When those gates open, you're the professional. You know, you take the ball into your own court. That's what you're getting paid for. You mean you're getting paid. That's why if you have a good team working with you, you won't make mistakes. I promise you.
So the rest of the race, when do you hit the front, or like?
Basically, then it was just when Mouse Roberts went left, I was a little bit worried because I said, "Oh, now where am I? I'm not going to follow him. I'm not going to go out that far." So I just kept beside him, kept glancing at everything else, and just picking them off one by one. It was when I was going to go to the front then.
And so, what's that feeling like at the end?
The buzz was just. It was one of the best rides I've ever given a horse. You know, and to know that myself, you know what I mean, to take the ball into my own court and to say, right, I'm the professional here. And thank God, you know, it worked out, you know.
It was an absolute peach. I mean, just like she'd gone in, like she's an incredible horse. She'd won the Guinea, she won a Matron, won a Coronation. But then what happened in her 4 years? So she'd gone and got beaten then at Royal Ascot and was coming into that under.
Yeah, she'd won a Group 1 in Germany, in Munich, and she'd won the Prince of Wales and lost it in the stewards. But she shouldn't have lost. But look, that's neither here nor there. It's one of those things. I had to accept that she lost it, you know. But she was
that level of pressure coming in and then making that move. It's just, I don't know.
Warren, the point earlier on about like you have to accept that you're not going to be the best. That's a very difficult accommodation to make for somebody who has been driven to a point of greatness. Like, there's nothing wrong with ambition either. So how do you marry these two things?
Yeah, it's like, look, it's like life. There's a balance in life, you know. It's like any person I coach now, you know what I mean. When I see them in bad form, I'll discuss it with them. You know what I mean. If I see other problems, I'll point them in the right direction. But the one thing is, you have to enjoy life as well. Life is out there to be enjoyed. You know, it's not all work. To me, as a kid, everything was just drilled to be worked. I was tuned to work. There was no going out, there was no nothing. I didn't start drinking until I was 22 years of age. I should have started younger. I made up for last time, yeah. But the only is that was my journey. You know, now it's to help these kids to keep on a balance in life. You need a balance in life. You need a good side, and you need to balance it up. You know what I mean? It's not all work. It's not all play.
Enjoy the triumphs when they come, but
Exactly,
don't
you
get
know.
too destroyed by the losses.
Yeah.
It's one of the things about horse racing, I suppose, like, you lose a lot of the time. The vast majority of the time you lose. I mean, 90% of the time you lose.
One thing about racing, I tell you one thing, you're never up there, because you'll be like, God, you'll be down there.
The next race, the next race is coming in.
You're only good as your last winner. Simple as.
All right, Friday Night Racing is brought to you by GoRacing.ie. Our guest this week is Warren O'Connor. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back looking at the weekend's racing after these.
Off the ball. This is OTB Sports Radio.
With over 15,000 coolers available to hire or buy, HSS Hire has a cooling solution for every workplace. Research shows staff are happier when their surroundings are comfortable. And with HSS Hire's range of fans, air conditioners and coolers, you can transform hot and stuffy into cool and calm. Drop into your local HSS. We've branches nationwide in Dublin, Waterford, Cork, Limerick and Galway, and get up to 50% off your first hire. HSS Hire, you're better equipped.
Italian summers, long days together in the sun, living la bella vita. In Ireland it's called the good life, and it's 3 days in June and maybe a weekend in August. But even in Irish summers, you can taste la bella vita with Italy's favourite beer, Birra Moretti. Ah, delicioso. Great taste, never lost in translation. Birra Moretti, l'italiana autentica. That means authentically Italian. Always drink responsabile. Visit drinkaware.ie.
Off the ball. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Yeah, our guest this week on Friday Night Racing is now the jockey coach, Warren O'Connor, of course, great jockey in his time. And you can follow you on Twitter at Jockey Coach. Good Twitter handle.
Thank you.
A lot of people don't get good Twitter handles, but that's the perfect one for you. Thom, racing this weekend in Ireland, Cork and Tramore. I guess the big race in Europe is in France, though.
Yeah, the Prix the second 2-year-old Group 1, the Aidan O'Brien trained Arizona, a real chance to sort of follow up there. You might expect him to do so, but it's a really deep race, and Ayer is a right good chance as well. But by the sounds of things coming out of Ballydoyle, they're quite happy with Arizona in his progress so far.
How good is Arizona?
I think he's very good, but I'm not sure he's their best 2-year-old. Iberia, who won on debut, is very good. I have a few others. I think Pinatubo is the best 2-year-old we've seen this year. It was a really impressive winner at Glorious Good of the Richmond Stakes. That impressed the time boys as well, which is always crucial, because sometimes you get stated, if a horse goes and wins 7 lengths, the people who like the stopwatch people they get a bit
You're obviously not one of those time boys. I can see from the way you're describing.
I trust my eyes, but I do always keep an eye on the stopwatch as well. But Pinatubo is probably put in the best 2-year-old so far this season. Arizona's very, very good. Look, we're into August and the start of September, and that's when the real Aidan O'Brien 2-year-old big guns start to roll. Siskin's obviously the best 2-year-old we've seen in Ireland so far this year for Ger Lyons. Good to see him get his Group 1 winner last week. But I would say the best of the Ballydoyle talent is probably still to come.
Okay, and some announcements this week as well about the Champions Weekend?
Yeah, Longines Champions Weekend looks like it's going to be absolutely cracking. The first Japanese runner in Ireland will be Deirdre. Funny name for a horse, isn't it? But anyway, she's an absolute superstar in Japan. She won at Glorious Good. She's going to come for the Kipco Champion Stakes. Mad Moon for Kevin Prendergast, of course, was second in the Derby. He was so unlucky in the Derby. He won over a mile last night in Leopardstown. That was his prep for the Champions Stakes. So Dragon, it was 5th in the Derby. He's going on at the Curragh tonight. So if you're listening on radio, maybe he's already won. But that's his prep race. Look, he's 1-2 at the time. So Dragon. So look, it's shaping up to a really nice race. Got the likes of Magical in there as well. And then we'll see what the British contingent is. But look, Longines Irish Champions Weekend, that's going up on the 15th and 16th of September. Looking forward as well. A horse I always give a shout out to, Sophie as well. She steps up to Group 1 class for the first time in the Flying 5. So Ireland's first 5 furlong sprint was run last year for the first time, so keep an eye out for her. Good to see Fast Eddie have another sprinter.
Did I see on Instagram as well that Jockey retired this week?
Yeah, what a horse. I mean, you'd be much closer, you'd down there riding work. But
he's been brilliant to the yard, absolute brilliant. He's a right horse, absolutely. It's great now that he's gone out in one piece.
How long have you been with Jessica Harrington?
Well, I've rode a lot of winners for Jessie, and we've been riding work for her now for what? Oh, jeepers. 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're riding out every day as well as coaching?
Just 2 mornings a week.
Okay.
That would coincide with her increased flat success.
Yeah,
the last couple of years.
The last couple of years have just been fantastic. You know what I mean? Having the filly last year, Alpha Centauri,
was
she was just a machine, another machine. You know
but she is the second most amount of 2-year-old winners this year, the most amount of 2-year-old fillies winners. Some really impressive, including that half sister to Alpha Centauri who won at Galway.
She's a good filly.
Any
She's good, yeah.
other ones we should be keeping an eye out for?
Yeah, I was disappointed with Windracer the last time. She ran too bad to be true. So
Okay.
you know what I mean, please God, that they found something wrong with her. You know what I mean? She's good. She's a very, very good filly. Some nice calls still to come out.
There seems to be a lot of depth and talent. I mean, Jessica Harrington and her crew have been pretty active at the sales, the yearling sales over the last couple of years. So it's good to see that come to fruition.
Great, and she's an absolute lady to work for.
When you're watching racing, are you as in depth on the form of each individual horse, or are you actually just kind of now at this stage of your career looking at the jockeys and how they're doing and seeing what?
Well, basically it's more the jockeys now that I look at it. It's gas. When I ride work for Jesse, the lads would say you're riding this, you're riding that, and the first thing I say is, what's that by? You know what I mean? All I want to do is know their pedigree.
Yeah.
I don't want to know their names of them. I want to know their pedigree. Because when you know the pedigree, it gives you a better idea.
You've seen the bloodline.
Yeah, you'll know sort of what trip you're sitting on. You know what I mean? What trip they'll want and all that. Rather than just a name, this is blah blah blah.
They say an ounce of pedigree is worth more than a ton of feeding.
Exactly. That's true. It's true.
The Tout Irish Injured Jockeys charity was topped up by another €440 last week after Cracking Name landed the spoils at Tipperary last weekend. The fund now stands at €6,959, which is pretty good. The August Festival takes centre stage in Ireland this weekend with racing at the Tramore track both Saturday and Sunday. There's also action coming from Cork tomorrow afternoon, where the listed Platinum Stakes is the highlight on an 8-race card. Tote customers, remember, can enjoy free racecourse tickets to select meetings throughout the year. See the tote.com for more details. And I think your best bet this week comes from Cork.
Yeah, my best bet comes from Cork. Quick mention on Tramore, by the way. They've done amazing work down there. Owen Byrne, he used to be in charge of the marketing action for Longitude Irish Champions Weekend. He's taken over as manager down there, and they've done amazing things. And they've been rewarded as well. Their New Year's Day chase has been upgraded from listed to grade 3, so that's a massive fill-up for them. But you look at Tramore and you think, traditionally wouldn't be the most obvious place in the world, but there are 3 Cheltenham winners there in the last 3 seasons: Album Photo, Penhill and Lorena. So
right, it's good to suddenly see somebody else looking at opportunities as stepping stones. But explain why that's a big deal on New Year's Day. What difference did that make? It's a higher
quality of race. It was a listed race, and now it's been upgraded to grade 3. It was won last year by Album Photo, who went on to win the Gold Cup. So there's kind of a circular thing here where, well, a good horse goes and win it, that means the race is technically better. Which is which, I don't know.
A rising tide.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, it's great for Tramore to have a grade 3 chase at a time of the year when there's a lot of racing on, and, you would imagine people would use it as an opportunity to perhaps, sidestep Leopardstown, get a good prep into a horse, and looking at maybe the Dublin Racing Festival or Cheltenham down the line.
Okay, so what's your bet this week?
My best bet of the week is at Cork in the 310s, a horse called Sonalia for Mick Halford in the 310. His horses are flying at the moment. Nice filly called Redenza won last night, but Sonalia so dropped £3, dropped in class, back against fillies. She's a good chance in the 310. Shout out as well to Tarnawa in the feature Give Thanks Stakes.
Okay, what odds do you expect for your tip?
I'd hope she'd be, I'm just hoping here, but I don't know. I don't think she'd be favourite, but she's very strong form.
Okay.
I'd take 7-2.
That's how that works, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You name a price and the bookies match it, and away we go. That's how that works. Yeah, it's like a bidding system.
Yeah.
Another question for you. Who's the most technically perfect technique that you've seen, the most graceful? The Roger Federer of jockeys.
Oh, well, so it has to be Frankie.
Right.
Yeah. He's phenomenal. Absolute phenomenal. And would you believe he's riding better now than he even was when he was 20 years ago? He's got everything. He's just got everything.
It's mad that he has the hunger to continue at this stage. Obviously, the money's great, but
he's very selective these days. I mean, he doesn't do the Brighton on a Tuesday thing anymore.
Yeah, he's not. He's not travelling up and down the M25. He's not parked on the M25. I was in England for 3.5 years. My God Almighty, the driving and the travelling over there is unbelievable. But he's being select about it, but he's loving it. He loves the glory, he loves the joy, and the horses he's riding now, sure, that would keep you going for another 5 years,
Any particular rides this season have stood out for you by him?
Jeepers. He's just been brilliant on them all. I promise you. He doesn't make mistakes.
I thought his 2 rides on Stradivarius, they're so contrasting, the two of them are just Ruby was talking last night. There was a young girl, I can't remember her name. I think Harriet Dunstan, I think her name was, but she won the bumper last night in Tramore, and she obviously doesn't have the best technique. But Ruby was talking in Racing UK going, but tactically she's gotten it spot on, and that's a far bigger aspect of jockeyship than being able to ride a finish. Because with two front runners, she let them go on, cut each other's throats, and then picked up the pieces. You know, Ruby was very complimentary in that obviously she wasn't stylish in the finish because she's a young rider, she'll improve, but like
that's teachable.
Tactically, she was far more astute than the other two.
I'll tell you what wins a lot of races is your brain. You know, it's the brain that wins races.
When people talk about Ruby Walsh, they talk about like this internal clock that he has about pacing, that, you know, you wouldn't actually see him change the pace. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, or if it's just the way that it's the easiest way to describe it to non-racing experts, but is that something you've noticed, is that there are certain jockeys who, I guess flat's completely different because you do have to hit the button sometimes. And
yeah, I know. Well, in the flat you need a clock. You need like I promise you. You mean when I rode in Germany, and I'd say over half the winners I rode in Germany was from the front because I was controlling the race, controlling the clock, and you need a clock in your head. It's a clock that wins races.
American jockeys in particular are noted for being able to ride sectional times to almost, you know, tenths of a second, and they to the point that they're asked to do it.
Oh yeah, well then the difference in America is you wouldn't be counting the seconds coming down the hill in Clonmel. You'd say, I'm going down here 10 seconds before I go, yeah, me Barney. You know what I mean? It's different on the flat. It's all level. But what I mean is knowing the pace you're going. That's you know, knowing what's underneath and the pace it can go. Simple as that. It's like driving a car that you're not driving the over it.
Warren, it's been fascinating stuff for the last hour. Thanks a million for being so generous with your time, and best of luck with the rest of the year as well. Thom, good stuff too. Here's hoping that we have a winner this week.
Hopefully.
No pressure.
Pressure's on.
That's another Friday Night Racing in the books for you this week. If you were listening on the radio, then stay tuned. More good stuff coming your way in just a couple of minutes' time. But if you're streaming with us this morning on Facebook, YouTube, or indeed on offtheball.com, then the best place to get this is generally offtheball.com. And of course, you can also listen on OTB Sports Radio. Just tell your Alexa to play OTB Sports Radio on TuneIn, and lo and behold, magic in your earballs. We'll see you next week. Thanks very much. Good luck.
Friday Night Racing
On Off the Ball.
And they're off. Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at goracing.ie.